are anonymous.
Hello, this is Anonymous. We have a message to the world in regards to the coronavirus. It has come to our attention that there seems to be a lot of confusion in regards to this virus, like a lot of panic. This is what the media wants us to feel so they can control the people in the New World Order by creating martial law. But as it goes, these are only speculations and not facts, but it is seen that there's medical proof and evidence of 5G problems going on right now. 5G comes from a cell tower for your phone and devices, and it has been proven to cause a lot of problems like cancer and other issues. All for the suck of money and better communication and possibly better surveillance.
Number one, not only is the healthcare profession, man, dude, this is bullshit. It's all lies. I'm sorry to tell you. Even the information that you guys are spreading around and that the healthcare field is releasing is lies, okay? It said that the coronavirus can last on a surface for 5 days. Number one, it can be killed in 80-degree heat, okay? Any virus can be killed with heat or can be shot in cold, okay? So this whole thing is bupkis, okay? It's so bupkis. I'm alarmed at what they're allowing. I'm alarmed. That perfect example. If a virus could survive outside of a host for 5 days, why does not everyone in America or in the world have AIDS? Okay, say if I lay this down. Say if this was AIDS and I left it here. There's no way I can come back and pick this up because heat's gonna kill it, chemicals are gonna kill it, water is gonna kill it, ice is gonna kill it, it's gonna decimate as soon as it hits air. Do you understand me? It is gonna decimate. If you apply heat, you will kill it. That's why you're supposed to wash your clothes in hot water. It kills germs. People, this is going on too far.
As it seems, this all comes to be very strange. The virus for sure is real. There is a lot that is not fully acting up. And it also seems strange how far the media is willing to go to push this idea of a virus. She also goes on to talk about 5G signals as well, and the harmful effects of 5G signaling from cell towers.
No, coronavirus is not killing people. It's the 5G radiation that they're pumping out. Number one, through your phone. Number two, through these cell towers that they're installing right now as you're at home in your cozy house. Number three, you wouldn't need a mandatory curfew unless you were doing something illegal to the people who didn't know. Okay? Yeah. So while you're at home on mandatory lockdown from 9 to 5, that's when they're installing 5G that does not need to go up because it's going to fry your brain. Okay, it's going to fry your insides. It's going to scramble you. It's going to give you cancer. It's going to give you leukemia. It's going to give you flu-like symptoms so bad that you're going to think you have coronavirus, but it's actually not coronavirus. It's the chemical radiation coming from the 5G towers that they are installing. Okay? People, you have got to wake up and think for yourselves. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay? It's ridiculous. Hold these people accountable. Hold these people accountable is all I'm telling you. You know better. You know good and damn well that everybody would have AIDS if viruses lasted this long outside of the host.
It's no secret the Chinese government has had problems with the United States for a long time. In a matter of fact, it dates back 20 years ago. So the question is the virus a biochemical weapon for control? Also, the Chinese and the US has been globally building 5G towers around the world, which has been proven to be dangerous. Question is, are these cell towers considered weapons for upcoming wars? Well, you can be the judge on that.
2035,
PLA is very likely to attack Taiwan if the reunification is not done by then. Tell me why you think so.
Yes, I think the issue of whether or not China will use force is dependent on the success of their other strategies to use influence, economics, and diplomacy to pressurize Taiwan into accepting a political deal where they would become part of mainland China in some form or fashion. And China's been trying to work this over the last many years, and they will continue to do that over the course of the next 10 years. But at some point, there's going to be pressure inside the Chinese Communist Party from especially the military to argue that, hey, if these other forms of pressure aren't successful, then we're going to have to use military force in order to be able to achieve our grand ceremony in October of 2049, where we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, which they talk about all the time, one of the 2 centennial celebrations that they want to have. So I've called this the decade of concern that starts next year, which is the Chinese military was ordered by Hu Jintao and then again by Xi Jinping to have the capability to take Taiwan by military force starting in 2020. So for the last 20 years, it even started under Jiang Zemin, but for the last 20 years, the Chinese military has been building up its military capability. And Xi Jinping has, given them a new organizational structure in 2015, created the Strategic Support Force, the Joint Logistics Force. He's cleaned out a lot of the corruption out of the military, got rid of the areas of the military that had nothing to do with warfighting, and got them focused on being a true warfighting capability. So starting this next year, the Chinese military is going to be thinking that, well, now we have the capability to physically go out and invade Taiwan. Now, some people doubt that they actually have that, but when you read what the Chinese say, and even what Xi has said, they believe that they have that capability. And that belief is only going to get stronger over the next 10 years.
Okay.
And so the question becomes, how late could you use military force in that timeline from 2020 to 2030 to 2040 and use an invasion and then expect the world to come back to Beijing in 2049 and participate in this grand celebration of the 100th anniversary of the PRC. And I think the Chinese have an example in history where they know it's about a 20-year period where the West will forget what they do.
Okay.
And that example was from Tiananmen Square to the Beijing Olympics.
Okay.
That's 19 years, so say 20. So if you go from 2049 back 20 years, you essentially get to 2030. So from 2020, where they've been told, be ready, have the military capability, till about 2030, maybe 2035, as we get towards the end of that decade, there's going to be great pressure for whoever is leading the PRC to use military force because they know that if they don't use it, then their ceremony will and their celebration will be tarnished, and that the world will still condemn them. And they also know too that, especially with America being non-prepared in this arena, that as America under the new Trump administration starts really gearing itself up to defend Taiwan, that they will be also running out of time. So it's this next 10 years, as I said, is the decade of great concern.
First, on December 1st, 2018, Huawei's CFO, Meng Wanzhou, was arrested in Canada at the request of the United States for allegedly breaching U.S.-imposed bans on dealing with Iran.
Documents report
2 months later, Huawei was indicted for theft of trade secrets, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice in the U.S. Following that, America warned allies that whoever uses Huawei equipment for 5G deployment...
It seems like Huawei running 5G capabilities which can be used to spy against the U.S. government. It has also been known that the Chinese government, with their technology trade with the US, America uses products that are shipped from China that have backdoors on their devices and are used to spy on the US. It sounds to me like an early attack and prestigious planning. Not only is this an attack against the US, but it is an attack against humanity. You be the judge on that.
Many Western industrialized countries, the mobile broadband service industry runs on a retail model. In this model, major commercial carriers pay a large amount of money up front to purchase spectrum from the government, leaving no one else in the field because smaller players can't afford the price. Then they charge customers as much as they possibly can for data. Meanwhile, they naturally look for the cheapest equipment and roll out costs. This equipment comes from China, and these big commercial carriers end up serving as lobbyists for Chinese companies to gain regulatory favors from their governments. Declan Ganley, chairman and CEO of Rivada Networks, an Ireland and US-based telecommunications company, called these commercial carriers Trojan horses.
I talked about the fact that Beijing uses these retail mobile carriers as their Trojan horse. I think in Chinese, it's I'll mispronounce this now. 杀手锏 is the term that is used for this. The assassin's mace is the rough translation in English. It's using an asymmetric advantage against your opponent and using your opponent's own strength really against your opponent. The carrier lobbies in each of these countries have done all of the lobbying with not an awful lot of need for help from Beijing. And the reason that they're doing that lobbying is Beijing has offered them extremely attractive terms, is really offering a massive subsidization of their 5G rollouts. And these carriers who are trying to maintain the market, the margin between what they retail a gigabyte of information, of data for, and the cost that it costs to produce it, while they want to maintain this retail business model, they need these Chinese subsidies. And so they are addicted. There is an addiction problem in the retail mobile carrier oligopoly in the West, and the addiction problem is to Chinese subsidization so that they can do 5G.
America runs on the same retail model, although it doesn't allow Huawei equipment currently. However, what will happen if Beijing were to be successful in Europe and everywhere else? According to Ganley, if that's the case, 10 years from now, there will be no other option other than using Huawei equipment.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forget. Expect us.